Hi, this is Ralph Zuranski, and I'm on the phone with Randy Charach. And Randy, for over 20 years, has been helping people achieve their goals, and he's done it in a memorable and meaningful fashion. As a professional mystery entertainer and speaker, he's made over 5,000 presentations worldwide since graduating from high school in 1981. Randy is uniquely qualified as a consummate professional entertainer and an expert in the area of communication, marketing, and success. And I've seen Randy at some of the different internet seminar presentations, and at one he did his magic show, and it was just incredible. I mean, it was mind-boggling. And in addition to his stage and platform skills, he has authored 18 audio learning programs ranging in topics from goal setting to problem solving. His book titles include 50 Ways to Leave Them Laughing, Synergy Talent, Secrets of a Millionaire Magician, and Niche Magic, How to Maximize Your Net Profits in Small Niche Markets. Randy has the ability to quickly achieve an unusually high level of success in his chosen fields, and he shares his methods in his entertaining, inspiring, and practical presentations. As a rising star in the internet marketing world, Randy is in demand at the different seminars across the United States as a speaker. He explains in detail how he made over $100,000 in his first 5 months as an internet marketer, and the principle he now applies to propel a multiple of equally profitable and diverse ventures by harnessing the power of the internet. Randy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ralph, and thank you very much for having me participate in this program, which I know that you've worked very hard on for many years, and it's a fantastic effort that you've put forth.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know that you appreciate my desire to help kids because you've got a lovely wife, Chana, and daughters Leilani, Shira, and Kyla. And you know how important it is for kids to have some type of future.
I love children, and I always have. In fact, I remember thinking as a child how weird it was how much I loved children, and I was a child. Usually it's more, and that hasn't changed, and I just always, and I still am quite childlike, with my family and friends, and sometimes with strangers, as long as it won't get me locked up. They think I'm a loony. But I love fooling around and being childlike and keeping that childlike mind. And I don't know if you know this, but when I was 20, I was hired to be Ronald McDonald the Clown, and I did that for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a really great opportunity. I had the privilege and the honor of visiting sick children in hospitals and at the Ronald McDonald House, and just really being able to connect with children at a level which was quite dynamic. Ronald, put all the corporate stuff aside for a moment, is loved and highly revered by many children, and definitely recognized by children all over the world. And so instantly it made it easy for me as a person behind the mask to go in and connect with the children and brighten up their day. And then so I had that walking in with my big red shoes.
Yeah.
That was a big part of the job, and that was the part of the work that I enjoyed the most, actually. The meet and greets at the restaurants were okay. I did that because that was part of the job, but really going to the telethons and the hospitals and the schools, Ronald McDonald House, was something that I really appreciated. Another thing is, as a child, I spent a lot of time in hospitals too, and it also, I gained a great appreciation of children and suffering that children experience, that sometimes adults who haven't gone through the same path have trouble understanding. It's much different for a child than it is for an adult to deal with things which may even seem trivial to a lot of adults.
Boy, that's absolutely true. And you know a lot about heroism, being Ronald McDonald. I mean, he's sort of a hero to a lot of kids. What is your definition of heroism?
My definition is very simple. It's a selfless act. And I don't know if that requires a lot of elaboration, but I'll offer some.
Yeah.
A selfless act can be anything that somebody does for the good of any other sentient being, and whether it be an animal or a person. And the degree of heroism, I think, is completely relevant to the individual themselves. So a heroic act for me may not be for someone else, and it works, both ways.
Mm-hmm.
They're a selfless act for somebody, for anybody, falls into the realm of heroism.
Mm-hmm.
The degree of which a person goes beyond their comfort level and their means to help other people, that's where I think other people start recognizing and noticing different people and categorizing them as heroes. But I think that almost everybody in the world does heroic acts on a daily basis. It's just that it's not widely recognized by most people.
Well, I totally agree. There's one of the heroes in the original program, Gregory Allen Williams, who was a star on Baywatch. He actually saved a man's life during the L.A. riots and pulled a Asian guy out of a car that was being beaten to death by the mob, and a Mexican guy stepped in to take the beating that he would have got trying to save the Asian guy's life. And it's just amazing in those moments when somebody steps up and does something that they don't have to, but they're motivated to help save somebody else. And I think that is just incredible when people do good things every day that nobody sees, nobody recognizes them for. In fact, what is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
Well, again, I think that's also something that's actually a good segue from the other question. It's all relative to the person doing the best they can at that time. So just like the heroic act, if somebody, let me give you an example. If somebody has just crawled out of jail, who has spent most of their life in jail from heinous crimes and have been surrounded by miserable situations their entire life and everything going against them, and they get out and they open a door for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in my mind, that still falls under heroism, and that's kind of an illustration of the point that I was trying to make when I answered that question. So the first question about definition of heroism, that same thing isn't a heroic act for somebody else who jumps into the into fire and saves people like a firefighter. That sort of thing. It's all the same with the question about goodness and ethics and moral behavior. Anybody who does something, and of course it's always based on their individual circumstances at that given moment.
Mm-hmm.
They do something that is categorized as the best they can do at that moment.
Yeah.
Whatever that best might be. I think that they are living ethically and under moral standards that are within their environment, within their capabilities. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that this person who comes out of jail, if they went and did something bad to someone, but it wasn't as bad as what they've done before, I'm not saying that's good, ethical or moral.
Yeah.
But I am really a strong believer that we all come from different places. We all have different situations in any given moment. So goodness, ethics, morality, it's all going to come back to us one way or another. I do believe in karmic consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody acts unethically or immoral or in a damaging, harmful way to others, it is going to directly hurt themselves, and they will suffer those ramifications sooner or later in one way or another.
Well, that's absolutely true. It was funny, Gregory Allen Williams said that there's a little bit of bad in the best of us and a little bit of good in the worst of us, and that when a person steps forward and does something good at that moment in time, they become a hero. And I believe that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
There's a real dichotomy as far as what heroism is these days. It's like a question, well, what would you be willing to sacrifice your life for? We have the heroes like the firemen, the policemen. Those people are getting paid to sacrifice their lives to be in dangerous situations. What do you think is the difference between people that are actually getting paid to do heroic things and people that just do heroic things on a daily basis, like somebody that takes care of a sick family member?
I think most people, the firefighters, the policemen, the military, etc., who are getting paid for doing things where their life is at risk to help others are not doing it for the pay. I think that's something that it just happens to be how they earn their living. And so I don't even consider that really a factor as far as comparing or judging those acts to someone else who is doing something where they're not getting paid. Same with, here's kind of a new argument that I hear people say, oh, well, so-and-so donates $10 million to charity, but he's worth, $100 million or $3 billion, and he just does it to promote his company, or he's an egomaniac, or whatever. I say, well, okay, so the point is, let's look at the result. This person donated money to charity, which was helpful for the charity. It's a separate issue if they go and they need to flaunt it, or if they have ulterior motives. I look at the good that's done, and I would say again the same answer for this one, that whether you're getting paid or not, it's all circumstantial, and it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of if they're doing good or not. Yeah,
that's absolutely true. Everybody has low points in their lives. They have low points and high points. What was the lowest point in your life, and how did you change your life path so you'd have victory over any of the obstacles that you're facing at that time?
I can offer a couple of different. I don't know which one was lower. I've had several low points in my life. Let me discuss the first one that comes to mind. When I was 20 years old, I started waking up routinely, like clockwork in the morning, and I forget the exact time, and it wasn't exactly to the minute, but around 4 or 5 in the morning, with excruciating pain down my left leg. This went on for some time. I went to see my general doctor, and he thought maybe it was like from exercising, weight, slipped disc or something. Went to therapy, physiotherapy, chiropractors, all sorts of different things. Nothing helped. Even painkillers. Like, the pain was excruciating.
Wow.
And this went on for probably about a half a year. Finally, I don't know how or why, but I tried using just plain aspirin instead of like Tylenol 3s and this sort of thing, because it was affecting my life. Being medicated and being in pain all the time. And that worked. And it was interesting. I mentioned that to him, and he said, well, you know what, I want to send you for an X-ray, because maybe it's something else. I went for the X-ray. That didn't show anything. And then I started inquiring more with the X-ray technician and started doing a little research. And my doctor was onto something. The aspirin was related to a rare bone tumor, which we discovered I had, which was benign, fortunately, and that was discovered through a CAT scan. Now, it wasn't so bad. It might have been a year into it by the time we actually found out what it was. When I found out what it was, I was relieved, because I honestly didn't want to live any longer. The pain that I was having was so intolerable, and the drugs that I had to take to live with it was creating other side effects. Wow. So I was relieved. This, okay, all I cared about, can you fix it? And and yes, and is it cancer? No, it's benign. They explained what that meant. Different. Yeah. No big deal, simple situation here. It's funny, Ralph. You know how whenever you go to a doctor, they're always the best? Yeah. Have you ever heard of anybody say, oh, I went to a doctor and I had this done, and he's the best? Have you ever heard them say, and he's like, second best or the worst, or then leave out the part, but he's the best? Everybody goes to the best. So anyway, it's quite funny that way. So anyway, I went to this guy who was supposed to be the best, and he removed the tumor, and then I was okay, but only for 5-6 months, and then the pain came back, and I recognized this pain as this very distinct pain. It was like something hitting the nerves. Not just a regular pain. I knew the difference. So had it re-X-rayed, and it was discovered that he didn't quite get it all. So then, and so far we haven't hit the lowest part. I'm just building up to it, because this part wasn't all that bad in comparatively to what you can hear, although it doesn't get that much worse either. So then my father, who is a very loving father, he looked at this with me and said, if you really want to take care of this, I'll take you to Mayo Clinic. in Rochester, and because they're supposed to be the best. And obviously the first guy wasn't because he didn't get it all, or for whatever reason. Let's just go to these guys. So we went to Mayo Clinic. I woke up from the surgery, and there was two types of pain. There's the pain from the surgery where they cut open my leg, they removed some bone, they did some bone grafts, this sort of thing. Can you imagine how, think about this, that pain was like 5% compared to the other pain that I've been living with. The other pain was overriding it, so I knew when I woke up from the surgery, they didn't get it. I just knew it.
Yeah.
They just, no, it's, you're confused, Send me back home, and I was right. They didn't get it. What happened was they didn't re-X-ray, and it had shifted a little bit. So really, they went in and just sort of took out the wrong piece of bone.
Oh man,
it was horrible. So I had to recover for the next 6 months, and then found another doctor locally in Vancouver where I live. He said, "Look, I can guarantee that this can come out." But what I'd have to do is remove a bigger chunk of bone, put a metal plate in there to make up for that, loss of structure. And I'll get in, I'll get it out. And I said, okay. Now, by the way, right now, just before talking to him, I'm at my low point. Okay?
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, to end that story and then come back to the lesson, he did perform the surgery, and it was successful. And I've been more or less fine ever since. Now, the lowest point was at that point after Mayo Clinic being unsuccessful, just thinking this is now going on like 2 years. I had to drop out of college for it, and that's a bit of an excuse. I probably would have done that anyway. I went for 1 year of college. This was happening, and I didn't go back. I could have gone back, and again, there was different reasons I didn't, but I couldn't go to school. What I did do, and your question is, how did I overcome this obstacle? Is I had a change of attitude, but the low point, the manifestation of my feeling though was like throwing food at people and swearing and hating doctors, and people, and just being a miserable guy, right?
Yeah.
I was horrible, but it didn't last too long. That lasted maybe a couple months until I realized what I was doing. All of a sudden, and I'm not sure what it was, or what I read or listened to, or what somebody said to me, but it clicked. This is not a way to live. I should be happy. There are people with way worse. It was benign. I'm okay now, or I'm going to be okay now. And I came back with a vengeance. I decided I overcame it. It was just a simple switch in my mind. That's all it was, that I switched. Just turned, okay, forget it. I'm just going to do whatever I can. And I went out on crutches after that. In fact, that Ronald McDonald job, they hired me for it based on seeing some of my magic shows prior to me being laid up. I did some shows in between surgeries as well. When they approached me for the job, I said, well, yeah, but I have a surgery coming up, and it's going to be a few months recovery, and then I'll do it. My very first Ronald appearance was the very first time I walked without crutches after quite a while.
Wow. And
it was on stage at the Variety Club Telethon for the Children's Hospital, walking on stage on this televised program as Ronald. So that was something that really truly did change my life, to be able to do that and overcome that obstacle and turn it around and come back with a whole different attitude towards people and life and challenges. It was something that, although I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and of course I'm not happy it happened, but a lot of good came from it.
So you believe it's important to take a positive view of the setbacks and misfortunes and mistakes that occur in your life?
I believe that when people don't do that, that's when depression sets in and all sorts of other physical manifestations, other illnesses. When your mind is not easy, then you get dis-ease. That's what disease is. And it sure, there's physical things. I don't think that my tumor was caused by bad attitude, because it wasn't really bad before that. Yeah. It was only temporary. But I do believe that we can go out and create real physical problems for ourselves that manifest from negative attitudes, and from that accumulation of what we talked about earlier. which in my mind is relevant to everybody's life, and that is the karmic consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
And that's why when somebody who does something which is unethical or immoral, or when they do something that anything that's going to hurt somebody else, that it's going to affect their ability from there on and forever to live a life in which they're going to be at their fullest potential. They're directly hurting themselves.
Well, how important was it for you to have a dream or a vision that set your course of life?
It was and continues to be really important. For some reason, I don't know why, but I started off quite young as an entrepreneur, and it was not really a family thing. I'm kind of odd that way in my family, and one of those things when I came out of that final operation for my leg, I wanted to make money, and I had a vision to make a lot of money, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity. I can use the pity thing here now. I'm on crutches, and I have an idea. And have you seen those big hockey games? Like they're like almost like a video game, but they're like foosball, the big bubble, and then the sticks. They're called, it's like Czechs is the manufacturer of Czech hockey. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. They're coin operated. Well, those I saw that they were just coming out back then, and we're going back now 25 years, and I somehow saw that somewhere in a small business magazine or something. I've always been reading those entrepreneur magazines and biz op things. I've always been reading those and interested in that kind of stuff even as a kid. So I saw that, and I was one of the first people to actually buy them. I remember they were like $3,500, and I'd already made money at that point as a magician, so I had money to invest. And I bought those, a few of those, plus a few other machines. I went down to in my crutches and I had my mom drive me around. I'd go to different bars and laundromats and donut shops, this sort of thing. Say, can I put these games in here? Kind of like the whole video game thing was just starting. Pac-Man was just a little bit before that. And they said, sure, and, the deal was 50-50 on the coins. And so then I'd come along with the bag and the coin wrappers and my mom and collect these coins. The vision that I had was to go out and be successful and make money and have a little business, and I didn't let anything stop me. Right now, at the moment, as you are aware, and this has been going on now for a good 6 months, I've been restructuring my business, and I have a vision for my business. But my vision wasn't that clear up to maybe a couple months ago. So for those first 4 months were really hard because I was running around trying to fix things, but I didn't really know why or where I was leading. I just knew things weren't working that well in certain areas. I wanted to fix them, but until I sat down and really had a clear vision of what I wanted to do in the near and in the long term, it's really difficult to take strong positive action that's going to be effective.
Do you think that it's important to have courage to pursue the new ideas once they pop into your mind?
Absolutely. And courage for one person, again, is different for another person. For me, it takes courage, and my wife, and for everybody it takes courage, but my wife has different channels. She has different viewpoints on things, which is good. She encourages me, and that offers courage for me to try new things and take risks in areas that I may not, and courage to try new things outside of business, to improve your physical health, to help others, to step outside your comfort zone, anything. I mean, really, an idea is something that always starts with a thought, and then we take these thoughts and we evaluate them and we decide, do we want to invest the time, money, energy to pursue this idea? And then typically what we do is we turn that idea into a vision, right? A goal, a target, a destination, and then we commit to that idea, and then we follow through with the critical tasks that will lead us to that destination. All along the path, it requires courage to continue, because any worthwhile idea is not going to be a completely clear, easy path, and it's important to realize that and to have the courage to continue or to not continue as you go along, to continue to evaluate. It all involves courage.
Yeah. Well, of course, in what you've done over the years, it was pretty uncomfortable to go through a lot of the stuff that you did. How important is it to realize that people are going to experience discomfort in pursuing their dreams?
Accept it. Understand that discomfort in your dreams in all areas of your life will be present. And others that I know in work, they work. I'll speak for myself. I'm not comfortable sitting at a computer and typing. Physically, it bothers me because I don't have proper typing skills. Now, that's something that I can and scheduling in to change to learn how to type. But I end up cramping up my back and this sort of thing. But I do it because it's something that I need to do to pursue my dreams. I do way less than I used to because now I've understood the concept of delegating, and I delegate what I can, and also using alternatives to getting my thoughts to others. For example, right now, this conversation is being recorded instead of being written. It can then be transcribed by somebody else and then edited. And I could even I've done similar things now when I'm creating articles or contributing to books or even writing books where I use other ways that are more comfortable for me. But the point is, there is some discomfort involved, and there was definitely during the beginning of starting writing my first book where I didn't have as many luxuries, although I did find ways around it too. Moving away from business, there's discomfort in all sorts of things. With my children, I have a lot of dreams for my children, and to help me in my pursuit to assist in my dreams for them, and of course they're going to adjust these dreams and change them and have their own as they grow. Right now they're infants. That requires discomfort in many different levels. So discomfort is part of our human condition. It's something that we have to accept. That without pain and suffering, it's really hard to live a fruitful life. And that sounds really negative, I know.
Well, no, that's true. That's just the facts of life. Well, on the other side of that coin is doubts and fears. Everybody has doubts and fears. There's so many things to fear, and it's the reason why I created the Heroes program, is to try and get some good news out there compared to all the bad news and the doubts and fears created by conventional media. How do you overcome your doubts and fears?
Well, that's where it helps to have people around you that you love. And when I have doubts and fears, I'm very fortunate that I have a very loving wife, parents. I'm very close with the rest of my family, even my uncles, cousins, friends. I have some really wonderful friends. So I am in a terrific situation where when I have doubts and fears, I have someone that I can talk to and share them with. I also have how do I say this? It's not always another person that I go to help me with my doubts and fears. When I meditate, go beyond myself and beyond, the human condition into a realm which I won't even try to understand or explain. I get help there overcoming my doubts and fears.
How important is it to forgive those who upset and offend and oppose you? It seems that there's so many people that just take any opportunity to make you have a bad day. How important is forgiveness?
It is right up there at the top of importance on that importance ladder. And the only person you're hurting when you hold grudges is yourself. And when you have hatred or when somebody's actions personally offend you in your mind, because that's really the only place it exists, all you're doing is hurting yourself. You're not hurting that other person. You might be hurting other people around you who love you. Yeah. So it's very important. And the way around that is to have compassion for the person and understand that they're doing the best they can at that given moment. And it really, whatever they're doing, really has nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
It may appear to be pointed towards you, it may appear to be directly towards you, but it doesn't have anything to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
It only has something to do with that other person. And in that's where the compassion lies. To look at this other person and feel for them, and forget about yourself. If you're walking in a hospital, for people who have mental illnesses,
mm-hmm.
somebody walks out and with maybe they have Tourette's and they start swearing at you and this sort of thing. Are you going to take it personally?
Yeah.
Probably not. So, that's again an extreme example, but take that and look at every situation with people. Look at somebody who honks at you when you cut them off, even whether it's intentional or not. Does it really have anything to do with you?
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, how important is service to others? Is that a source of joy for you?
It is, and it's something that I think it's a source of joy for everybody. I don't think anybody could answer no to that. I believe it would be a source of joy at some level, whether conscious or not, for everybody.
Mm-hmm. How are you able to maintain your sense of humor in the face of all the serious problems that you've had?
Well, first of all, you don't know the half of it, as far as the serious problems that I've had. And again, that's all relative. Somebody else might be listening and go, "Oh, you want to hear my problems? You're lucky, man." And I am lucky, actually. I'm a very lucky person. I'm sorry. How do I maintain my sense of humor? Is what you asked. It goes back to that whole childlike attitude that I have towards life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true that I have lost my sense of humor in many situations, and I will continue to do so, which is good because that keeps reminding me that I'm human.
Yeah, that's true.
I usually need, in order to regain my sense of humor of a situation where I've lost it, which has happened very recently. I'm talking like in the last 48 hours. I need to actually step away from the situation for a little while, and then come back to it and put it in perspective, and ask, how serious is this problem? And here's a question I ask myself, and literally, did somebody die? I'll go, did somebody die? No. If the answer is no, then I start going down the list until I realize how trivial it is that I'm belaboring over and affecting the people around me and my ability to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much the exercise that I use, and it's worked well for me.
Well, who are the heroes in your life?
My wife, my children, my parents, and I look at a lot of public figures who also who I think are very, very doing a great job for humanity and for others. Rather not mention who they are. A lot of them are commonly acknowledged. Some aren't. None of them are evil, that's for sure. Well, I'll give you a hint of where I'm going. I happen to think Elton John is a hero, and that's why I kind of wanted to avoid not naming people because people go, what? I look at the way he, certain things stand in my mind. I'll use him as an example, and then you can just imagine what other sort of quirky examples are in my mind. But there was like a musical award program within the last couple of years, and Eminem, the rapper who was on it, and he had been widely criticized for anti-gay lyrics in his song, and of course Elton John is homosexual and is quite open about it, and they were performing together, which was really, really nice to see, and again, whatever the reasons for it, whether it's for someone to prove a point or not, it doesn't matter. I don't even think about that stuff. The fact that they would work together on this, I attribute the heroism in that respect mostly to Elton John and not so much to Eminem. Not that I'm saying anything negative about Eminem. Then when they came out for their applause, which was plentiful, Eminem, stuck both hands out, gave the finger to the audience.
Really?
Elton John went to hug Eminem. Eminem kind of like shrugged him away. But Elton John didn't react negatively to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
He instead was probably coming from a place of compassion to this Eminem guy.
Yeah.
Let me give you one more similar example, in case this one some people are wondering, what am I talking about? There's a fellow who is a Canadian well-known businessman named Jimmy Pattison, and I've happened to actually met him many times. I know him. He's every time I've met him, he's been a really nice man, and I've only heard things about him that other than nice, which are just things him about being eccentric. Nothing really bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where he really gained my respect, not so much with my personal interactions with him, but during 1986 in Vancouver, he led. He was, I think, CEO of Expo 86. That may not be 100%. Maybe he wasn't CEO, but he was definitely like right up there and organizing it, or a figurehead for it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody actually, some sort of a protest or whatever, threw an egg at his head.
Yep.
This guy is worth, I don't know, billions or hundreds of millions or whatever. He's one of the richest men in Canada. He didn't even flinch. All he did was just, nothing. I don't even think he took his hand and wiped it off. He just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't important.
Yeah.
What was important was the task at hand, and what he was there to do, whatever it was, cutting a ribbon or something.
Yeah.
He was there. So again, same idea, same concept. They're doing what's important to them. They're doing what they think is right. They're not taking things personally.
Mm-hmm.
They're not letting other people's problems. They're not making those other people's problems their own.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why are heroes so important in the lives of young people?
Well, because the young people are the future older generation, and it's, well, not so much anymore, but it depends on what you cut off the age thing, because now, a lot of 20-year-olds pretty much run the entertainment industry and a lot of industry as well, high tech and that sort of thing. So if we're talking, teen, preteen type of thing, they're going to be the next leaders shortly. Those are the people who are going to have the control, the politicians, the, head of media, this sort of thing.
That's hard to believe, isn't it?
Well, yeah, they're getting younger and younger. Or maybe, Ralph, maybe we're just getting older, and it just seems that they're younger, because, well, maybe when I was 10 and looking up and looked at all these people, maybe they were 20 then too, and they just seemed like they were 100, but I don't know. It's important because it's our responsibility to set good examples for them. So when they come into more power, they handle it responsibly, and also as youngsters, as they live their lives, that they do good, they don't do harm, and they have good role models. So the heroes are real important. And a whole other category of heroes, and it's a generalization because there'll be people within this category who certainly aren't. Individuals, I'm sure, crawling, certain types of individuals who do horrible things crawl into all sorts of different organizations. But when I look at people like Big Brothers, those are heroes. That's a heroic act to help young people, and I think that's great. And it's important because they're the future of our civilization.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well, how does it feel to be recognized as an Internet hero, and gratitude for offering to help with the program?
Well, Ralph, I, in my mind, think that the only person who recognizes me as an Internet hero is you. Simply because you asked me to be part of this program. I don't consider myself, and I don't know that anybody else does, consider me an Internet hero, and I do appreciate the acclamation from you, though.
Well, I created the hero as an acronym of somebody who helps enthusiastically, responsibly, optimistically, exceptionally, socially, and or spiritually, and you're definitely doing that. So it goes back to the idea of Gregory Alan Williams, that there's a little bit of bad in the best of us and a little bit of good in the worst of us, and that anybody, whenever they help in any way possible, that is a heroic moment. And, you've entertained so many people as Ronald McDonald, and, I've been to your magic shows, and, you really encourage people and you entertain them, and that makes a big difference in people's lives, because it just makes them happy, they love to laugh, and I think that you're magic program into some of your presentations are inspiring. And so I think it makes a big difference in the lives of other people when you actually make it better for them, and just at that moment in time.
Well, since you put it that way, it feels great. Thank you.
Well, good. I'm glad that you realize that. I know you've helped a lot of people along the way and helped them be successful also. Do you have any good solutions to the problems facing society, especially racism, child and spousal abuse, and violence among young people?
Prozac. Gee. Yeah, I do. I do have one. And I know it's helped me a lot, and it was a big turning point in my life. Also, going back, maybe 10 years for me, is when I discovered meditation, and that really helped a lot. It actually, without consciously doing anything, by meditating and by simply calming my mind on a daily basis, it did develop within me a more compassionate being and a less egocentric person, and that was a great positive byproduct of the meditation. There's been many positives. I think that if those people and the situations that you just asked me about, and the prejudices and all these things, I think if the people who fell into those categories were to sit quietly for 20, 30 minutes a day, every day, relax their mind, it would make a huge difference in the world.
I'm sure that's true. Well, if you had 3 wishes for your life in the world that would instantly come true, what would they be?
Okay, one would be that everybody would meditate. The other one would be that we would all study the great, various great, and only the ones that fall into a legitimate category, not cults, for example, religious scriptures like the Dhammapada of the Buddhists and the Bhagavad Gita, which is also referred to as the Hindu Bible. Of course, the First and the Second Testament. And I'll stop listing, but you get the idea that studying that and looking and finding and recognizing the commonality among all these great sages and great scriptures. That would be the second one. And the third one, that's a good question, the third one. Gee, those 2 alone.
That would do it, huh?
That would do it. Can I just go with 2? I'm sure tonight at 5 in the morning I'll wake up and I'll go, there is a third, a good one. Why didn't I think of that? Of course.
Well, what do you think the impact of the In Search of Heroes program will be on youth, parents, and business people?
I thought of a third one.
Okay, give it to me.
And this won't be possible for everybody living in all parts of the world. But if we treat ourselves well, if we eat healthy foods and exercise and don't abuse our bodies and our minds with chemicals and drugs, this sort of thing, that would be my third. I think that would also make this world a much better place to live in. Okay, and I'm sorry, what was your last question? I knew I had to.
The last one was, what do you think about the In Search of Heroes program and its impact on youth, parents, and business people?
Oh, well, I think it's absolutely wonderful. I really do, and I'm happy and honored to be part of it. I know that other people that you've categorized as heroes and have invited into this program who are participating, I'm fortunate, blessed enough to be friends and acquaintances with many of them, and I know that they're well-meaning people who are successful, who are going to have a great impact on the lives of others. I'm really happy about it, and I fully support you and your efforts and the entire program.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And as a final question, what are the things parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive impact on the lives of others?
They can be heroes. That's what they can do. They can lead by example. And if they do all the things that heroes do, their children will likely follow suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, boy, that's true, isn't it? The examples of the parents have such a big impact on the kids.
Absolutely, and I believe that that parents who set good examples and love their children unconditionally, treat themselves and their children and all the people around them with the utmost kindness and respect and compassion, and who understand the laws of unity of all sentient beings and karmic consequences. I believe that most of the children of those types of parents will turn out to be real great contributors to society. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, children who are born into families where their parents are not spiritually evolved, who are maybe living lives that are selfish and harmful to others, mm-hmm. still have an opportunity to live lives in which they do selfless acts, mm-hmm. and where they live compassionately and help other people. I don't think we're locked into it as people when we're born. There's genetics and there's environment. The genetics is something that people can't necessarily change completely. Our environment we can, as we grow up, as the children grow up and become, thinking individuals. Of course, they're thinking, right away before they're born. I realize that. But as they get up and get out and get older in the world, and they can make decisions and understand concepts, mm-hmm. and realize they do have the ability to change. They don't have to be like their parents.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Well, Randy, I really appreciate you taking your time and answering those questions, and I just thank you and ask you if you have one parting comment.
Yeah, Ralph, keep doing the great work you're doing, and anytime I can help you, I'll be there for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Randy.
Sure.
I appreciate your help.